Let me ask you something. When was the last time you slowed down? Like, really slowed down. And I don't just mean pausing to catch your breath in between meetings or scrolling through your feed. I mean actually stopping. Taking a real break. Just you, maybe a book, cup of tea, no pressure to do anything. Sounds kind of luxurious, doesn't it? Welcome back to the My Slice of Life podcast, friends. I'm Sharon O'Neill, if you don't know me, also known as your Highland host. And I'm making a conscious effort to go a little slower this week, for a very good reason. You see, this week's episode is all about finding out if slowing down can help us achieve more. It doesn't sound right, does it? It even sounds a little uncomfortable, and many call it counterintuitive, but if we slow down, are we then able to become more productive? Well, that's what I want us to find out. Modern life is exhausting. It really is, and I say that as someone who doesn't even live what's considered the normal 9-to-5 lifestyle. But I think this idea of slowing down, I think it sounds weird to us because in modern life, being busy is such a status symbol. If people don't see you zooming about, wearing yourself out, you think they will see you as lazy. Actually, that's a point. What do you think when you see someone sitting doing nothing? You know, that woman on the bench having a coffee, the guy sitting in his garden enjoying the sun. Do you think they are being lazy, or do you see them differently? Are they having a break? Are they planning what to do next or assessing what they've just done? Do they even need to be busy? Do any of us need to be busy? I'm starting to think the real answer to that is no. You see, a phrase which we keep hearing now to describe society is hustle culture. Ugh, it's horrible. You know, that pressure to keep moving, to fill every second of our day, to squeeze in one more task, just get more and more done. I don't like it. I don't like it at all, and I think it's making us sick. And come to think of it, when did we start to glorify busy? Where is the glory in burnout? Because that's the only place this kind of 100 miles an hour sort of lifestyle leads to. I'm starting to think we all need to slow down. Think of a day you've had, hell, maybe it's today, when you're on the go from the moment you get up till you go to bed. Maybe you've got the kids to get to school, you've got to get to work, there's meetings or appointments, reports, customers, pick the kids up, get dinner organised, get a bit of shopping done, the house is a mess, you need to make a call, clean up after dinner, get the kids to bed, and you're exhausted. And no bloomin' wonder you're exhausted. We're all exhausted. But you look back at that day and you think, what did I actually achieve? What progress did I make? Do you know something? We can't go on like this. And for goodness sake, don't look to social media to help, because that just makes it worse. We are bombarded by images and reels of these people who want us to believe they can do it all and more, and don't show any signs of stress at all. Hell, they can't find enough to do to fill every waking minute. We've been conditioned into thinking we need to be doing something all the time. So here's what I've been thinking. Maybe slowing down doesn't mean we're doing less. Maybe it just means we're doing what matters a little better. But giving ourselves permission to pause, to breathe, which I would really like to do just now because my dog's farted and the room stinks. I'm going to keep that in because I'm being honest. This is horrendous. So yes, where was it? So by giving ourselves permission to pause and breathe, we're giving ourselves space to do work that's not just checked off a list, but actually meaningful. I'm going to go through a few things here and I want you to think if you want any of these in your life, alright? Clearer thinking. So slowing down allows for more deliberate and focused thinking, which in turn, that's going to lead to better decision making and reduced mistakes. We can give ourselves time to think, time to plan, time to make the right decision instead of jumping in and making the wrong one. Effective productivity. by prioritising your tasks and working at a steady pace, you can complete them more efficiently and effectively instead of trying to do too much all at the same time, which, as we've seen before, really leads to nothing actually getting finished. In fact, single tasking, as it's called, instead of multitasking, has been found to get better results. Improved creativity. Slowing down can really help us to foster creativity. It gives your mind space to wander and explore new ideas. Just taking some quiet time can be all it takes for the solution to a problem to spring into your mind or for ideas to flow, which you can't think about if you're rushing about all the time. Our minds work better when we are relaxed. We learn more, we think more clearly, and we are able to have these sparks of creativity. It's like when we go for a walk in the woods. I don't know about you, but I find that's when I get some of my best ideas. I'm not rushing or thinking about anything in particular, and that's when ideas come to me. Better time management. Slowing down enables you to allocate time more wisely, and I talked about this in a previous episode, but I want to mention it here too because it's so relevant. Rushing about is never an effective use of our time. We need to go at a slower pace so we have time to see, time to evaluate, and time to plan. Enhanced focus. With reduced distractions and a slower pace, you can really concentrate on what's important. So you can not only focus on what you're doing, but you can also really pay attention to the detail. This next one is a big one. It's reduced burnout. Slowing down can help reduce burnout by allowing for regular breaks and reducing the pressure to constantly produce. It's back to our old friend, stress, isn't it? And yes, we need a healthy amount, but see going 100 miles an hour all the time, worrying about what's to be done next and pushing ourselves constantly is not what we need. So we can take back control, we can get a handle on our stress and prevent burnout just by slowing down, even just a little. Slowing down also gives you increased self-awareness. It allows you to tune into your thoughts, your emotions and values, and it leads to a greater self-awareness, a clearer sense of direction. Have you ever had a day where you've been so busy you found yourself saying, I can't even get a thought put together? It's not a nice feeling. We are more than what we do, what we produce. We need quiet time, thinking time, just doing nothing time. So what do you think? Does any of that sound appealing? Do you want your life to feel more like that? Or are you actually aiming for burnout? And at this point you're probably thinking, yeah, it sounds great, Sharon, in theory, but how do I actually do it? Well, I'm glad you asked, actually, because I do have a few ideas for you which you can start using today and start taking steps to a slower paced, less stressful, more productive life. So, what does slowing down actually look like in our everyday lives? And I'm not talking about quitting your job to meditate in the mountains. I mean little manageable changes that don't require a complete life overhaul, because let's face it, that's not realistic and none of us are going to do that. We need to keep it realistic. So I'm going to start with practice mindfulness. Introduce simple techniques like taking a few deep breaths before starting a task or doing a brief meditation. And I know that sounds a little woo to me as well, but I really think it's worth trying. And I'm not great at the meditation stuff, but I do try to be present in the moment. And that's not a phrase I'm very keen on. I'm trying to come up with a better one, but I don't have one yet. But let me give you an example of what I mean. I decided one day to try this mindfulness, be more present, and I thought I'll do it when I'm eating meals, because I had a habit of rushing my food so I could get the clear up done and get the dishes put away and all that sort of stuff. So I made a point of sitting at the table and really concentrating on my food. I had no other distractions around, so I took a moment to look at the dish and smell the food, and then I would take a mouthful and put the fork down and concentrate on the eating, really thinking about the texture, the taste. Before I swallowed it, I went on to the next bite. And I'll tell you, when you do this, a couple of things happen. One, is you realise just how quickly you have been eating up until now, and the second is you're much more aware when you've had enough and want to stop eating. When you eat slowly, your stomach and brain actually have time to communicate with each other, and your brain is then able to get the "that's enough, thank you" message, because normally we eat so fast, we eat everything on the plate, and by the time we're done, we're stuffed to the point we can't move, and the brain hasn't had time to catch up with the stomach until it's too late. So this is a really easy one you can try today. No prep needed, nothing. Just be more mindful when you eat. The next one is an idea I would like to try, and it's changing to a slow morning routine. So instead of hitting snooze and then having to rush like a crazy person to get out the door, we wake up a little earlier, which may mean an adjustment to bedtime, and in my case it will definitely mean an adjustment to bedtime. So we have a slower, calmer breakfast, or even go out for a little walk. It doesn't have to be far or for long, even 5 minutes in the garden or round the neighbourhood would do. These sorts of things help to set the tone for the day. We want to start our day doing peaceful and calming things because that really sets up things for the rest of our day. This is one I really want to get into, and it's probably one I'll struggle with the most, as I'm not a morning person. I've said it before, I'm just more comfortable staying up really late, but it's going on my list. I will let you know if I manage it because I genuinely do want to try this one. I like the sound of it. The next tip you can use to help you slow down is setting boundaries, and I'm going to start with time boundaries first. You really want to have blocks of time set for certain things, and I talked about time blocking in the time management episodes. If you haven't heard that one, do go back and give it a listen. But the idea here is that when you set your boundaries, your time blocks, you're able to balance out the work hours, the time for focused work, and also put in time for leisure. Actually set aside time where you know you will be doing something enjoyable for you. This way you're not working till you completely burn out, and you're actually taking the time to look after yourself, which is essential if you want to prevent this burnout. Now this time blocking is a great technique, and I do a version of it. I have the main part of the day for homeschooling, and at the other end of the day I aim for about 9 p.m, and that's when all the main jobs are to be done, the kitchen's tidy and all that kind of stuff, so then I can go and get some time to do my own stuff. Whether that's, research for the podcast, writing some blog posts, posting my videos on YouTube, or binge watching paranormal nightmare videos on YouTube, because that's what I'm doing a lot of at the moment. Bearing in mind I'm also my husband's carer, but that doesn't have an on-off time. It's completely ongoing through the day. But the other stuff I can schedule for, and that's what I do. Now the other type of boundaries, which I think a lot of people struggle with, people boundaries. Be it friends, neighbours, in-laws, whoever. It can be great to have these people in your life, but not so great if they keep making demands on your time. Can you babysit Saturday night? Can we come for dinner on Tuesday? Would you mind picking up XYZ from the store for me? On and on they go. And I think these are often the hardest ones for people to deal with. We don't want to say no because we don't want to cause offence, but we put up with them offending us and using our time like it's an extension of theirs. It isn't. It really isn't, and you have to be assertive in this situation. You do have a few choices here though. If you really don't mind doing whatever's being asked of you, that's one thing, but you don't want to end up feeling like you've been taken advantage of. To avoid this, you could offer alternatives. I can't make Tuesday, but why don't we all go out for a meal on, whenever, fill in the blank. That way you're not being put upon and you get a night out. Or you could ask if it can wait until you're free. Or you could just say, sorry, I can't. I'm not available. I've got plans. Being assertive is not easy. Trust me, I come from a family which had expert manipulators who would tell other people you would do something for them without even asking you first if it was okay. So yeah, there does come a time when conversations have to be had. The next one is not something I do, but I know a lot of people find journaling really helpful. It can be as simple as taking 5 or 10 minutes at the start of the day or the end, or both if you want, and that can be a way to process emotions, jot down your thoughts, or let the creative ideas flow. Actually, I say I don't do it, but now that I think about it, I do sometimes go sit somewhere quiet and scribble ideas from a poetry, podcast topics and so on. So I suppose I kind of do it a little bit, just not in any structured, regular sort of way. Adding on to that, something else you might find useful is what people describe as practicing gratitude. I mean, all I would suggest is that you take time at the end of the day to note down 3 things about that day that you're grateful for and appreciate. I mean, you could write them down if that would help you, or keep a file on your phone, whatever works for you. But having a time to remind yourself to be grateful, and also something to look back on when days aren't going so well, I think that can be a useful tool as well to help you slow down. I mentioned earlier the episode I did on time management, and a lot of the techniques I gave there can be useful to help us slow down, but a major one is prioritising, and more than that, it's the 80-20 rule. And just to remind you, that's when you focus on the most important 20% of tasks, which produces 80% of the results. That way you know the really big stuff is taken care of. You're focused on them. You're not nipping at the smaller jobs, which don't really accomplish anything. You'll be able to avoid the unnecessary busyness, and you'll have more time for you as well. Now, earlier I said that single tasking, that is focusing on one thing at a time as opposed to multitasking, has been found to have far better productivity outcomes. So we need to remind ourselves that we have to focus on one thing at a time, prioritise what that's going to be, and work on that. One more tip I have for you is to take meaningful breaks. That is a time out, even a short one, which is done intentionally. So not scrolling on your phone. We're trying to de-stress and help our energy levels not become deflated and worn out looking at those fictional people who tell us they've done everything by 10 a.m. We don't want to be doing that. If you caught last week's episode when I went through Mark Manson's productivity principles, you'll know he also says taking breaks actually helps us to be productive and can help to prevent this burnout too. So it's important. We need to remember slowing down is not about being lazy. It's about being intentional and using strategies to help us be productive without wearing ourselves out. So, a quick recap of what you can do to help you slow down to be more productive. We have mindfulness, getting a slow morning routine, setting boundaries, that's time and people, journaling, practicing gratitude, the 80-20 rule and single tasking, and taking meaningful breaks. So for the next week, I really want you to try even just one of these techniques and let me know if you found it helped you to slow down. Remember, take your time when you're making any changes in your life. We're not looking for miracles, just small steps that will build up over time and will help in the long term, and that's what we're looking for. So could slowing down make us more productive? I think so, and I think it's worth trying. So next time you feel that urge to rush, maybe just give yourself a few minutes to slow down instead. You might be surprised by the result. And that's it for today's episode, friends. Thank you for being with me this week. And if today's episode gave you something to think about, please share it with someone who could use a reminder to slow down. I'll be back next week with more ideas to help us all get productive. But until then, you take care of your wee self.